You have now arrived at Stadium and Gale.
Snap, the kick, it's been blocked again! Oh my! It's been blocked again! He's going to heave one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyree Cleveland! Oh my! I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw, pops and fires the ball over the middle. It's Corey! It's Corey! Got a touchdown! Corey's got a touchdown! Oh my! Corey's got a touchdown! Hands it off to Hartman. He comes back. Say goodbye.
Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out a winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium and Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium and Gale. It's your boy Corey.
It's Dan.
Delatorre.
And your boy Jay Scar.
You're
You know
muted.
what
Yeah.
it do? Your boy is
Yeah.
here still.
Yeah,
Even
geez,
if
Nick.
we still love
First time
y'all.
on the show.
Unplug the microphone. What? 2-5.
Yes, sir.
What's up with it, man?
How's your weekend, Corey? You were in Dallas all weekend, living it up.
Yeah, I had a good time out there. First time in Dallas. I've been to Texas a couple times, but never to Dallas. Beautiful city. One of the cleanest downtowns I've been. I like to judge these cities by their downtowns. And it's clean and nice. I would say Chicago and Dallas probably the cleanest downtowns I've been to, for like major cities.
My take on Chicago was smaller, cleaner New York.
I love Chicago.
Me too. Great. Just the infrastructure, the construction, architecture. I did the little boat tour when I was out there, but I had a good time in Dallas. It was actually good food out there, good scenery. It's rich. Everything's big in Texas. Every place I went, they was offering tequila, like just as the walk-in. That's like their go-to drink is tequila. Big Mexico vibes out there in Texas. They were right there by the border, so I get it. But no, the food was great. Town was pleasant. I had a good time, man. Good deal.
No,
How was y'all weekend?
It was good. So I had I was telling the guys right before the show started, we sponsor a guy my company does on the Corn Ferry. So I was out there watching him play on Saturday. They played the final round on Saturday because of Easter on Sunday. Happy Easter to all of those that celebrate. But the caddy was having some medical issues, so he had to be tended to. So they needed somebody to carry the bag. Dawson Armstrong called me over, said, Dan, you mind being on the bag for a couple holes? So thought it would be maybe one or two, ended up being 5 or 6, or I guess 6 total, 5.5. So what a fun experience that was, doing that, getting to read greens, talk to a professional golfer about stuff that he sees. So probably very boring for most people, but a really cool thing that I got to do. And then yesterday was some church brunch and boat vibes. Great way to celebrate Easter.
Let me ask you, what was your best caddy moment? What was your best read? Best club clean?
So I didn't give any reads on his irons, right? Like I let him make those calls, right? I helped with the rangefinder and the little yardage book to kind of see where we were. But one of the best reads I had was on hole 14. I told him, I think it's going to go a little right to left. He didn't listen. He said, I should have listened. I went straight. So,
that's moment of the day. Moment of the day.
I didn't want to hang
gave
my hat
a
on it and be
professional
like, wow.
golfer.
Yeah.
Let me give you your flowers here, Dan.
But that's
first
one
time-
thing that I am good at is putting. I'm a good putter. The rest of the game is, hit or miss depending on the day. So hopefully I'm hitting this week, though. I've got to play in the Tampa Gator Club golf tournament, and we are the defending champions. So
yeah, your score was a little suspect last year.
I didn't even keep score last year, Nick. So
I think you guys posted it.
Well, yeah, we did, but I wasn't keeping score if you're attacking my integrity.
No.
Anyway,
Tagging me in the team's integrity. But let me give you your flowers. A professional
you.
golfer did not listen to your putt read and immediately had to come back with an apology. Should have done it.
Yep. Should
You
have
should have said, "Hey, buddy, hope you learn Chinese." Unless you start listening to my, unless you start listening to
next
my
time I do the talking, you do the playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, but it was a lot of fun. So, Jay Scar, how was your weekend, brother?
It was pretty good, man. My son's birthday was on Friday, so it was no school, obviously, for Good Friday. I know daycare, whatever you want to call it, but took him to Lion Country Safari. That was my first time going as well, so it was a good time. He wanted to keep going by the giraffes. He didn't want to feed them, but he wanted to be real close just to see it. My daughter kept feeding him all day. Spent maybe about a good $60, $70 worth of lettuce. It was all good, man. Yeah,
lettuce.
Literally.
Where you go, Lion Country?
Yeah, Lion Country. I think it's like 3 pieces for like I forgot how much, like maybe $7, $8, something like that. Yeah, so we was running it up on the lettuce, and
we need to set up a stand right outside and let people know, hey, we're gonna undercut the inside.
Hey,
$5.
hey, they're taxing on the lettuce inside.
Right. And they're like, you can't break the lettuce, you gotta just give it to them whole. Blah, blah, blah. So kids had a blast, man. They added a new water park, my wife said, because they had just a little splash pad before. So they added like a new little slide and pool and stuff. So the kids got to have a blast out there, man. So if anybody ever in the Palm Beach area, Lion Country Safari is a place to go wear out your kids. They had a blast and they knocked out before they even got home.
It's worth traveling to. Like, even if you're not in West Palm, like I ran into some people that were just like here for vacation, and it shocked me. Like a few years ago, ran into some people that was out on Singer Island just asking me what to do, and then they told me, hey, we're going to Lion Country Safari, and that's what we came down for. It's one of the biggest outdoor zoo parks, wildlife in America. So it's worth it. You want to see lions, zebras, stuff that's in Africa, Australia. Yeah,
well,
you definitely go out
peck at your door and all while you're driving by, peck at your window.
Yeah.
Nick, have you ever been to Lion Country Safari?
Shoot, not since elementary school.
Yeah, I think same for me, but this might be one of the only podcasts in America where all 4 hosts have been to Lion Country Safari. You know what I mean? We stand for Lion Country Safari. That was always my favorite field trip in elementary school.
Put it into the Twitter bio, Lion Country Safari enthusiasts.
Here's a Palm Beach County. We know this, but the average person don't. So the street heading to Lion Country Safari, that's where Vanilla Ice lives, right? He has pet kangaroos, and they get out all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So shout out to that, man. It's Palm Beach County information.
One good song can change your life. One song, and now he has pet kangaroos.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick to have a pet kangaroo.
Bro, he has literally one good song ever and has enough money to have pet kangaroos that he can't even. Maybe if he had 2 good songs, he would have a fence big enough to keep kangaroos in.
He can't even afford the fence. I think he was a producer and stuff too. Like I think he was more than just a rapper.
Stop.
But now he has like a flipping house show on like HTV or something. Like I forget which channel that is. But I think it's Home Garden TV, HGTV. He has a flipping house show. Yeah, he flip houses and stuff down here.
Didn't he have a dating show too?
That seems more like
He's
Vanilla Ice.
He's not just a businessman, Nick. He's a businessman.
He flipping houses, man. He remodel and flip them.
If anybody has any other Vanilla Ice facts, we're willing to hear them throughout the entire show.
Lord.
All right, let's get into the show. Nick, you had a good weekend. Sorry, we skipped you, brother.
Yeah, went down to Daytona Beach. My brother-in-law, it's my wife's only brother. He's older. They live in upstate New York, so it is his daughter's first girl cousin of 6 cousins. So she was pumped. Really cool to see my 8-year-old niece living out like her mom fantasy, holding the baby, playing with Frankie, took her to the beach. Good times. Came back, and then Dad was up here. So we had the whole family here for Easter. Good, relaxing vibes. And then shout out to my guy Thomas Goldcamp. Planning on seeing him this weekend up in Charlotte. He's getting married.
Congrats, brother.
So congrats to Thomas and his bride.
Thomas is a is a good guy. Good guy. All right. Well, let's get into the show. Corey, why don't you start us off with a ad read for our friends over at Brunt, and then we'll get into the show. Lots to talk about today.
State Miguel is powered by the great folks at Brunt Insurance and Financial Services. If you need insurance, or even if you don't need insurance, give my man Greg a call at 954-589-2204. I'm positive he can save you some money. The quote is absolutely free. You can also visit him at bruntinsurance.com if you don't want to call him on the phone. And like I said, home insurance, auto insurance, life insurance, anything you may need insured. He specializes in Florida, but if you're anywhere in the Southeast, I'm sure he could take care of you as well. I've been using Greg for 6-7 years for my insurance. Great customer service. bruntinsurance.com or 954-589-2204 for elite customer service and insurance. Hurricane season is on the horizon. Get right.
Perfect. Well, we always appreciate Greg and the good folks over there at Brunt Insurance. You're going to have a great experience if you go to them. Let's see here. We're going to welcome a special guest here soon. We're going to talk about basketball and everything that's happening there. So let's switch the topics of conversation first to, there's some people in the chat that want to know about Life Wallet. So we'll give you the Life Wallet update. We haven't done that in a while. I announced on the show about 1.5 years ago, I was no longer a shareholder. I could no longer believe in the business. And it seems that we are in the final days. So you guys are all smart enough. You all knew to not invest and that this company was a sham from the beginning. And
you believed.
I'm just sad and disappointed in those that ended up losing a lot of money under a scam. You could have seen the scam far away, but I just feel bad for those people. So let's get into football real quick. Right now, the only player of real note, no offense to the walk-ons and those players, that has entered the transfer portal is Gregory Smith. There was some conversation that Gregory Smith was going to enter the portal, then not enter the portal, and then he finally did enter the portal on Friday, seeking an opportunity for himself both in NIL and in playing time. So I don't know how you guys want to handle that conversation, Corey. I know that you were, kind of involved in some of the discussion about Gregory Smith, and you kind of know more than the average fan might. But however you guys want to go about that topic.
Yeah, so I reported last week, and all this is just like easy for me to like just navigate through. I know the average fan probably like, what the heck just happened? But I put out a report last week saying that the University of Florida was expecting him. People around the program was expecting him to sign the not letter of intent. I'm sorry, to sign his NIL agreement deal and to stay at the University of Florida. That was the expectations. And from what's been reported at On3 and some other places since then, it's pretty much how I laid it out. The deal was in place. He was expected to sign. That deal had a deadline on it, and Greg Smith didn't sign it. Once the deadline passed, it was attempted to be executed, but Billy has learned and got burnt a couple of times in the past. So I think Greg Smith played the game a little bit like a lot of players are playing it. Checking their offers, opportunities elsewhere, seeing what type of money is out there. But in my opinion, you can watch how some of this play out and kind of see if a player is making, I would say, a wise decision when it pertains to flirting with other offers or what may be out there in the portal. If visits don't follow that enter in the portal and you start seeing the tweeting of practice clips, it probably wasn't the wisest decision to jump in the portal. You got to play this game wise. If you're going to jump in the portal, you might want to have a seat. It's musical chairs going on out there. There's a lot of players entering, and when that music stops, a lot of players are going to be standing around trying to figure out where I'm going to sit at a little bit. So I think he jumped into the game of musical chairs. Since then, no visits have been set up on his end. I'm not saying they won't be, but I haven't seen any visits or any offers that have been tweeted or went out. And I've seen clips of practice film that's going on the timeline. So he's still shopping around a little bit, but from our understanding on our end, there was a deadline NIL agreement in place. Greg wanted to look around a little bit more, see what his value was worth, and got kind of caught in the rain a little bit.
Yeah. I've seen it happen. I know the Bible verses are coming soon, and we'll see. Certainly wish him the best. Let's pause this conversation. Well, I mean that's the Greg Smith conversation. He's in the portal.
I want to continue the Greg Smith conversation because it's not just Greg Smith; it's just Porter in general. But I do want to continue the conversation.
Yeah, let's put a pin. Let's use some corporate jargon here. We'll put a pin in this conversation because I want to talk about market correction too, and I think we're starting to see it in NIL. We'll talk a little Nico. We'll talk about some other things. But before we do that, let's welcome from Florida Basketball Hour and Saturday Down South, everybody's favorite attorney, my favorite attorney, Neil Blackman, to the show. Neil, thanks for joining.
Your attorney's favorite attorney.
What's up? How are y'all?
There he is, the GOAT. Here he is. All right, so we're going to talk a little basketball, obviously, with Neil. We haven't had Neil on since the Gators won the national championship. So, Neil, congrats to us, huh?
Yeah, congrats to us.
Wait, Neil, let me see that shirt. It says January, February, Walter Clayton Jr.
Yeah. He also got confetti still in your hair. I see confetti still in your hair, my boy.
That's right.
All right. So we do want to talk a little bit about that. But before we talk about the Gators winning the national championship again, obviously some big news came out over the last week. And that's one. The Gators got a commitment from Princeton guard Xaivian Lee. Denzel Aberdeen, who was projected to be a starter on this year's upcoming roster, announced that he was going to go into the transfer portal, and then today decided to commit to the University of Kentucky. And then not to be lost, Sam Alexis also put his name in the transfer portal. So maybe we start with Denzel Aberdeen first, because that seems to be the one that has people kind of in a huff online. What did happen there?
So it's important to talk about like a couple of things immediately. Like, one, it wasn't about role. So there are a lot of people that, Twitter's Twitter, but there are a lot of people that, he wasn't happy about Xavian Lee coming in. That had nothing to do with any of this. This started before Xavian Lee committed. And then there were, he wants to play lead. He wants to be the lead guard. He wants to be the point. Well, he was going to play some of that no matter what. Like, Denzel Aberdeen was guaranteed a starting job next year for the defending national champions. Todd Golden said he would start on 4 different occasions, including 3 with every member of the media that has covered this team since September present. Multiple people inside the building confirmed that to me when they brought in Lee, both while they were trying to get Lee and after he committed. So Aberdeen had a role. It was going to be defined. This staff knows what he does well. They know what he doesn't do well. But, it wasn't about role. This is all about money. There were overtures from Texas Tech and Cincinnati as early last week. And
we got to report him, Neil.
Yeah.
We got a narc on him.
Yeah. If only there were rules about any of that. Since there aren't any rules, it doesn't really matter, right? But so Denzel went to the staff and made a demand about an amount of money that he would need to stay at Florida. And the staff responded by making an offer that was above his market slot value. So the market slot value for a player with a 7.5 point per game production, even adjusted for what they thought he could do as a starter, right? But let's just a guy at 7.5 points per game that plays great defense is around $600,000 to $800,000. $800,000 on the top end if you think he develops into a starter level player in a Power 5 league, which is what Denzel Aberdeen projected to be, an SEC starter. Florida's offer was above market slot. It just wasn't what Denzel Aberdeen demanded. And so Denzel Aberdeen slept on it, wiped his social media of Gator stuff, and was in the portal within about an hour. It stunned the staff. And I tell you this, like, this is like behind the fourth wall. Like, I texted De La Torre. I was laughing about it. Like, I was like, this isn't actually happening. There's no way he's leaving Florida. Why would he leave? People are going to cry on this dude's senior day. Like, why would you leave when they're going to take care of you financially? You're going to graduate with honors. He was going to graduate with honors from the University of Florida, not just get a degree.
Wow.
You're going to graduate with honors from a top 20 university, and you're guaranteed to start for defending national champion. Why would you leave? There were staff members that were just like, what just happened? So was Florida staff surprised? Of course they were. That said, you're talking about two guys, Todd Gold and Jonathan Sapphire, who are the functional GMs of this program. And if they thought Denzel Aberdeen was irreplaceable, they would have matched his number. And they went well above what market value is. But Denzel got a $2.2 million offer from Kentucky, and he took it. Hey, good for him, man. Go get your money, young man. But no, Florida wasn't going to pay Denzel Aberdeen $2.2 million. They were prepared to pay him 7 figures of money. And let him finish his degree and let him start, and all the connections that come with that. Mm-hmm. From a basketball standpoint, like, we could talk about that, but that's the backstory of it.
What was the difference? Like, you said 2.2. What was Florida at? Right at a mill? Like, what's the difference we're talking here?
So the difference after taxes, because Kentucky, you just chopped $300,000 off of that 2.2 immediately, right? Because of your taxes. Mm-hmm. So your Kentucky taxes, the difference, the gap to bridge was about $700,000.
Wow. So
choices were made.
Yeah,
choices were made.
That's a nice mansion, depending on where you want to live at, man.
It is, and like, so look, there's two ways to look at it, right? But the two realities are, one, Kentucky made him a hell of an offer, right? It's hard to turn. That's a lot of cheeseburgers. That's a Will Wade offer. That's a strong ass offer. It's a strong ass offer, as Will Wade would say.
And what are Denzel's NBA chances?
Well, that's the second part of the conversation, Dan, right? Like, the second part of the conversation, and the reason that this is so interesting, I think, is just outside of, like, just from the college hoop standpoint, is Denzel Aberdeen's best path to the NBA is probably a 2-way contract, right, where then he impresses and makes the team and gets the full-time contract, what Castleton got, right? Last week. But Denzel, like, he's probably not getting drafted either way. Like, he's not getting drafted at Florida, where he's a guaranteed starter,
right?
Unless he has just a gargantuan breakout year. And then he's probably not getting drafted in Kentucky. And look at Kentucky, he took 2-2. That's not a carved out role. Like, there's a chance he's the fourth guard there. Now, I had some heated Twitter back and forth about that today with everybody from Gator fans to Kentucky fans and the reason it's a heated debate is because no one knows the answer. Some are like, he's starting for sure. And others are like, yeah, I don't know. Jasper Johnson's a top 10 recruit. He's coming in there. You think he's coming in there to sit behind Denzel Aberdeen? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Jalen Lowe is coming from Pitt, more productive player than Denzel throughout his career. He's not sitting. So, Otega Elway's back. That's a guy who is going to get drafted. So there's your 3 guards. There's a chance he's the fourth perimeter guy. But to answer your question, like, I think what Denzel has done is he's taken money up front, which, great, good for him. If he has a big year at Florida where his role is known, where he's a known commodity, where he's in a system that suits him, maybe he makes that on the back end, right? Maybe the European contract offer offsets the difference between Kentucky's NIL offer and Florida's. maybe a two-way deal like what KJ Simpson got at Colorado last year when he turned down bigger NIL money, stayed at Colorado, played, beat the Gators in the NCAA tournament, and got a multi-million-dollar deal with the Hornets on a two-way, right? Maybe Denzel does something like that, and then the payday on the back end happens. Denzel took it up front. Now, Denzel might win that bet, right? He could have a great year at Kentucky and then get that money on the back end anyway. But he's going to play in a system that's brand new. He might not start. They are really, 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 really heavily reliant on pick and roll at Kentucky. And if you want to play the one at Kentucky, you better be elite in the pick and roll. Guess who Florida's worst guard in the pick and roll was?
Denzel Aberdeen.
You got it, Dan. So
Dan knows ball.
Certified ball knower, Dan Thompson. Just inform the masses.
Sorry, we're gonna make that the episode title: Certified Ball Knower Dan Thompson.
It was all the meet and greets that Dan has had that's helped him be a ball knower.
Yeah, I mean, these are all like, so, I had to push back a little. People are like, well, what risk is he taking? He's taking all this money up front. And he is, and that's great. And I'm happy for Zell. I stand by every tweet I said about him being everything that's right with the sport. He is. He stuck around for 3 years. He could have bolted. He could have left. He embraced his role. And guess what? His reward for embracing his role was $2.2 million from Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything that's right with the sport. But
it almost seems like he bet against himself.
I do think he bet against himself. And the only way he cashes in, he has to succeed at Kentucky, which I think will be harder than it would have been at Florida. And I think there's plenty of data that backs that up. And so, yeah, I mean, it's almost as if, and by the way, like you guys know this better than anyone, you can't tell a 22-year-old kid that he's not playing in the NBA.
No.
Like, there's no way that Denzel Aberdeen made any of these decisions going, oh, man, I might not make it to the National Basketball Association.
You don't think so? I think so. I think
take this 2-2 up front. I don't believe that for a second.
Ain't nobody hearing that. I can't lie. He right about that one.
No competitor.
I don't know if I've won a natty, right? I got a national championship at a University of Florida. I'm from Orlando. That's the end all be all right there. Wealth. Winning. If I don't think I'm gonna play in the NBA, I may as well go get more money to not go to the NBA. There's other leagues in the world, so I think he could go make money elsewhere. But the opportunity to make an extra $700,000-$800,000, and I kind of know because these guys at that level, why he still think he could go probably have a crazy year. He definitely know the depth chart at Kentucky. He knows the other guards that's there, and who's returning, and he also know what he's hearing from scouts, his agents, and everybody else. So it was probably, a little bit of financial advice, securing himself. And then 2025, what sports is becoming, bro, it's hard for me to get upset. I'm a big Aberdeen fan. It took me by surprise, but I don't know, he may not be in the focal point of this offense. I know Todd Golden may have told him that, but I don't know, like with the moves they made with Xaivian Lee, I don't know if he's the star of this offense coming back next year. So he probably just went out the winning a natty, being at the mountaintop at Florida, like money just probably makes more sense to him.
Yeah, no, and like again, I mean, I'm not gonna fault him for that. Now, I mean, I think, and I'm not, I think there's a bigger basketball risk at Kentucky, but he's willing to do that for more money. And that's fine. And by the way, he's still national champion. Yeah. He's still a guy who played a key role in Florida winning that national championship. He had massive buckets against UConn and Houston in the NCAA tournament. So I mean,
now you got to catch these hands, Neil. That's all it is. Now you got to catch these hands when they come to the, to the O-Dome, baby. It is what it is.
That's what's going to happen, man. He's going to catch them. And I mean, like, it's so funny. Yeah. I sent a tweet. I don't know when it was, who knows? It was a month ago, and I was like, man, I think it might have been senior day. I was like, man, you think this was an emotional? You imagine how this building's going to respond to Denzel Aberdeen in the portal era, and now he's going to get.
Yeah.
They're going to boo him out of the building.
Yeah, he was.
Pyburn, nothing caught me by surprise, man. Because Pyburn like left a similar legacy on the football field. You feel me? Like after that, I was just like, bro, who would pass up being just a fan favorite? Because that's what Aberdeen would have been. Same thing with Pyburn. They passed that up for assumingly more bucks, whatever it may be, man. NIL errors here.
Yeah, Denzel was so when Todd got the job, Florida had 3 basketball commits out of high school. 2 said, "Peace out, later, goodbye. Don't bother coming to visit. We're out of here." And Todd and Sapphire drove down thinking, this is what Todd told us, drove down thinking that, like, man, how are we going to convince this kid to stay? Like, we got to get this kid to stay. They get there, get to the living room, and he's like, "Coach, born a Gator, can't wait to be a Gator. Doesn't matter if it's you, if it's Billy Donovan, if it's Mike White, I'm coming to Florida."
Well, if it's Mike White, probably not.
Well, he committed to Mike White.
I know, it's just a joke, Nick. Come on.
But like that was the kind of, and those stories would have kept coming out all summer. They would have came out in October when the team got together. It would have been the story you told as you're getting into January, February, March, senior day. Like you said, Neil, it would have been Denzel Aberdeen jerseys up and down the row, teary-eyed, and now it's going to be like, I see fans being like, hold off on giving the rings until Kentucky plays, and don't give Denzel his that night. Just make him look at his old teammates' rings, and hey, man, yours will be in the mail, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna FedEx yours. We did it ground. You'll get it sometime in the next week. I want to. There's a comment here. And Neil, I think that you'd be good. Nick, obviously, you might have to have some discretion in this conversation, but it's a conversation about being outbid. And I don't understand how the school outspends. Are we really who we think we are? I think it's important to know the difference between being able. Oh, we lost Neil. He'll be back. Being able to be outspent versus what a slot value is and what you determine somebody's worth on the roster. I think that's a big thing. It's not necessarily just does Florida not have the money. And I don't think that Florida couldn't potentially go get the money if that's what they feel like they needed to do to keep him. But I think there's a limitation to how much a school wants to spend on a certain player, especially when that's a very public conversation that gets had.
Yeah, you just can't make emotional decisions. It's business decisions. You know, like if another program is willing to overspend for something that's on your roster, then by all means, you just gotta let it walk out the door, bro. You know, that's just a part of the business. So, and you can
Florida's
still
outspending some schools right now for some players that other schools didn't want to pay for that we are.
Right. It's a two-way street. If you enjoy the portal, right, of the upgrades, you gotta. You know, eventually somebody's gonna come knocking at your door for some of your talent as well. And I think these guys do a good job. Both programs, I would say basketball, football, even baseball, just the analytics of value, right? How much should we give this guy? You know, what's our max in letting these guys walk? I know Billy does it in football. Todd is doing it in basketball. Can you go find somebody at the same position and give you the same amount of production at your value, at your, you know, your budget? I don't think they were being cheap. $2.2 million is a lot of money, you know, to give a guy that's probably not going to be the focal of your offense. That's probably going to be Xaivian Lee.
Right. Anthony Pons said, so none of the players we lose are worth to us what they are to other universities. That's just the way that life works. It's the way the job search works. It's the way a lot of things in life work, is you are worth what somebody is willing to pay you, and schools will value you at a certain amount and say, hey, this is what our offer is. They might even exceed what that amount that they had slotted for the year for that role is to keep you. But you also can't stop somebody else from overpaying you or finding a different value in what that money is. It happens in the job world all the time. Neil, the question was, I know you
Well,
lost.
real quick, real quick before
Yeah.
that. This is because Neil can talk about this too. So the whole issue with that I foresee happening, I've been pretty spot on when it comes to NIL for like 3 years. But the issue I see happening now, July 1st, when the schools can start paying athletes and then companies like when I work for Florida Victorious, there's a fair market value and you have to report this. We live in a capitalist society, and fair market value is what somebody's worth paying you for a good or a service. Dan and I can make the same exact shirt, and I can charge $1,000 for it, and Dan could charge $10. If somebody buys my shirt for $1,000, the exact same shirt that Dan is selling for $10, they valued the shirt at $1,000. I think we're going to have a system that rolls out July 1st, and then there will be lawsuits. And then real quickly, it'll be like, what do you mean I'm only worth $600,000? This school wants to pay me 2.6. You're taking $2 million away from me.
Right.
I'll see you in court. Because in our capitalist society, you are worth, or a service is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And Kentucky was willing to pay, allegedly, $2.2 million for Denzel, and Florida wasn't. It's not that we don't have money, but also I get this thrown at me a lot. Didn't we just raise $1.5 million for Florida Victorious for? And I'm like, the market's crazy, especially basketball. And and a lot of the coaches around college basketball right now are nervous about that rev share because there's a bunch of schools in the Big East that love basketball that don't have football programs.
Florida also just paid a lot of money for Xaivian Lee, the guy that we're just about to talk about.
But also don't have to send that money. So like the money right now is funny. It's funny money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Florida also, I mean, Kentucky is going to have the most expensive roster in the sport. Like they're going to be at $12 million, right? And Florida is going to slide into the top 5 in SEC hoops NIL, thanks to the money that Florida Victorious raised and what Gary donated. And, they're going to be in a better shape than they were. So what Florida has is they got 2 guys, Golden and Jonathan Sapphire, who built, with help from the others. But those 2 guys primarily are like the GMs, right? And they have they've got a cap. Here's what amount of money we've got to spend. And, I think prudently, Thomas Houck and Alex Conan commanding more of that money. So Alex, we'll see what happens with Alex. But Tommy, more than, everybody kind of expects Tommy back. I think there's still a chance he tests the waters, but he's not going to get a combine invite almost certainly. So that would just be to get NBA feedback. Whereas Alex is going to go to the combine, which is why I've been kind of like, well, I don't like talking about Kondo because I don't know what's going to happen with him at the combine, right? So the combine could go great, and then he's in the top 20 and he's gone.
I didn't realize they could go all the way to the combine and then make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, and he should.
I think that's pretty cool.
He should. He's going to go.
I would do it every year. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. So I mean, he's gonna. They can do it once, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Corey would sue him to let him keep going.
Yeah. Now
I got one more in me.
No, but Corey's right though. Like, I kind of expect Alex back, but a lot of that is based on where he's at in like mock draft boards. It's all gut, right? Because he's not at the combine. It's irresponsible of me to be like, oh yeah, Kondo's coming back for sure. So I'm not going to say any of that. But the point is, like, Florida's got to put NIL into those guys. They had to put NIL into Zell. Now they don't, but they carved out some money. But yeah, I mean, Xavian Lee, he came here for less than he's like Elijah Martin did. Florida wasn't the highest bidder in the Xavian Lee sweepstakes. That was St. John's. St. John's had about 2.5 on the table for that kid. That wasn't what Florida was spending, but Florida could sell him on, hey, you're going to be, like Corey said, you're going to be the focal point or one of the focal points of our offense. And here's what we've been able to do for guards. It's a pretty good video.
And we got White Buffalo.
Yeah, totally. And we got White Buffalo. What else do you need?
No.
Not much.
You might be able to buy White Buffalo. Shout out to Zika.
Yeah. It's a vibe.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Florida's obviously going to have to go get a starter quality player, but that gets back to kind of the central point that I was making, which is that if Todd Golden and Jonathan Sapphire and now Carlin Hartman doing some team building with those guys, because Carlin is a guy who deserves to be a head coach and will be a head coach soon, but deserves to be. Now, he shouldn't leave for any opportunity. He should leave for the right one, because it's hard to have your first head coaching job be one that, somebody that's as qualified as Carlin deserves to get it. So, but point being, like, if they thought Denzel was irreplaceable, they would have found that money. But at some point, you do reach an event horizon where you're like, man, we are already offering you over market value. We have gone up in that offer. We are making guarantees that other programs are not making. And you have familiarity here. You have all the connections you would, and I don't know if Denzel loses those connections because he goes to Kentucky for a year or not. I mean, he might be able to call up Florida alumni in 10 years and they'll take care of him, no problem. Who knows? But I feel like Florida made a strong play for Aberdeen. He just chose to go to Kentucky, and that's his choice. It's his life, man.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on to Xaivian Lee, because I think that's certainly an awesome bright spot that got a little overshadowed here. Yeah. Princeton guard transfer, Tommy Hawk's teammate.
Yeah.
So we're building our own little central Pennsylvania basketball team. Transfers from Princeton. Can you tell us a little bit about his game? Comes with 16.9 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game. I think he only has just 1 year left. Is that right?
Yeah, 1 year eligibility. Okay. What jumps off the screen on him is just how he creates for others. His assist rate was 33rd in the country, which is a 37% assist rate is pretty ridiculous. On 28.5% usage, that's even more ridiculous, because that means on 28.5% of Princeton's possessions, he has the ball. And on 37% of those possessions, he's creating an assist and a basket for someone else. Those are outrageously good numbers, and they'll travel league to league. If you can create for others, you can create for others. The like little question marks are just efficiency wise. He's not a terribly efficient scorer. I mean, he's gonna have nights where, if he takes 13 shots, he might go 4 for 13. Now, he could go 4 for 13 and have 3 of those be threes and have 7 assists and 1 turnover. And I think a lot of times on those nights, Todd Golden will get up on the podium and be like, we liked how Xavian played tonight. Yeah, the ball didn't go in.
I'm going to pull up his field goal or his stats here from Princeton. It's going to be a crowded screen here, but I think it's kind of worth making the point. All right, let's see how we can do this that Neil isn't completely shut off. All right, there we are. So, yeah, I mean, you look, 5 of 15, 8 of 14, 4 of 11, 8 of 16, 9 of 22, 10 of 14, 5, 11, 3, 13, 6, 10, 1, 9, 7, 16. So, and then there's the games that he shoots 12 for 19 for 33 points.
Yeah.
So certainly going to be something that I think there's one thing that Brandon Connell just brought up. Shout out to Brandon, only averaged 2 turnovers a game. Certainly something that Florida cares a lot about there. But I still think that there's, certainly going to be an opportunity for him to make an impact big time next season and be that assist maker that Florida needs out of that point guard position.
Yeah, and he won't be like, he could be the kind of sun around which the offense orbits a little bit, but he won't be when people scout Florida, they're going to be concerned with Hauk
Mhm.
and with Kondo if he's back, and with Florida's front court. That's what's going to scare people. So, I think that'll be good for him. Now, granted, a lot of that assumed Aberdeen, and now they got to fill that spot. But I think with Xavian, he hasn't had a cast like this to create for. And I mean, I think Hauk is probably going to be, if he's not preseason SEC Player of the Year, he's going to be second
In the conversation, yeah.
Yeah, it's either going to be him first, or it's going to be Otega Owe from Kentucky.
I don't like that.
It's not going to be anybody else.
So I know Florida's looking at a few others.
Ben Henshaw from Australia.
Aussie.
Got to get him into school.
Is that an issue?
That's the word. Just some academics, making sure they can make the academic thing. But if you want to read some tea leaves and go super down the message board rabbit hole, the fact that he's been working out with Conan and all that seems pretty promising. Florida has the money for him. So, you got to get him into school. That would be good. There's another guy named Cedric Coward who went to Washington State, got hurt a little bit last year. Florida has pursued him. I think that he will either end up at Duke or he will go to the G League. He's a kid that may do what Aberdeen did, except just take the pro contract, because he just dealt with a year where he came out of the gates, looked like one of the better players in America, got hurt, and now he's lived that. And I'm sure that, like, whatever the offer from Duke is, it's going to have to be, hey, we got a bigger deal than your two-way contract, so make this year worth it. And even then, like, just the injury risk is a lot for a guy who will get an opportunity to play in the G League as long as he doesn't have another injury at a minimum. So I don't think Florida's really in on him as much, but I think Henshaw is certainly there. A.J. Brown visiting tomorrow, Zay's brother. I would expect him to be a Gator. And then Florida's going to need something from the freshmen. They're going to need something from C.J. Ingram, who did not have a good Jordan Brand tournament. Looked a little lost offensively. Looked a little small. Looked like he needs to, get with Victor Lopez and the strength coach and get to work. And then Alex Lloyd, who had a monstrous Jordan Brand tournament and is just a walking bucket and has been one for a few months now. He dropped a 40 burger on Columbus earlier, playing the Boozers. Played on the Boozers AAU team. He was a big reason Florida was in on them for so long. He could be good. He could be impactful immediately. Like, I used to think it was maybe the other way around because of the way C.J. Ingram defends. And now I think that as long as Alex, who's real wiry and little, I mean little like skinny, as long as he can handle the physicality in non-conference play, and he shows that he can, he's going to be a guy that they can get baskets from. And so he's going to play, I think, more than people think. And the Jordan Brand is a good barometer for that because, I mean, that's some of the best talent in the country that was there. And, I mean, Alex looked better than one of the Boozers, that's for sure. He was spectacular this weekend or last week.
Perfect. All right, guys. Any more questions before we let Neil on his way this evening?
Just one, and it's one that I've seen. I haven't had the answer to it. I think it's the nature of playing basketball in the Ivy. I tweeted a couple of clips from Lee, and a lot of the responses, to sum them up, are playing against a lot of slow white guys. And I'm like, wow, he's playing against a lot of Fortune 500 CEOs, future Fortune 500 CEOs. What will the step up in competition be? How will we know that? And how does his game translate, maybe?
Look, he's He is he's legit 6'3.5", 6'4". He's long. He's longer than Walt was. I don't think he's as bouncy as Walt. Like Walt, you know, you don't think Walt looks like a great athlete, and then he blows past you. So, you know, that
Speaking of not
athleticism.
looking like somebody, I'll be honest, as a guy that doesn't watch a lot of Ivy League basketball, when I heard the name Xaivian Lee,
he's
that's
black.
not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was right. I was thinking a brother got into Princeton. That's good work right there.
Yeah.
It's a little
He's
cognitive dissonance. Sorry, Neil.
No, it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You're right. I mean, look, Xavian's gonna need the physicality is gonna be a thing. But the Ivy League is a better basketball league than, say, the MAAC, where Walt came from. It's a better basketball league than the league Belmont plays in, where Will Richard came from. So, you know, I don't think that like the team that runs the Ivy League, Yale, is like bully ball. Like you think if they're in the Ivy League, they must play like some pretty like, you know, make basketball a science experiment or something. And Yale is like, nah, we're gonna get 50 rebounds. You know, we're gonna punk you. And so Princeton, you know, they do run good stuff. They run great offense, all that. But the reality is that's a pretty good league that he's coming from. So I don't think the jump up in competition is as big as like just that physicality element. And there's nothing like it in the SEC, man. Like you all, like, part of Texas Tech, their coach, that's after the Elite Eight game, like we're talking to him and he's like, man, we just got tired. Like we thought we were chasing Walt around and he was tired. And then the last 5 minutes of the game, like we were just a step slow to everything. And that was Texas Tech, and they had some dogs. So, yeah, that's going to be an adjustment. But anyway, appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, Neil. Let everybody know where they can find you online and read your articles. And
yeah,
listen to
man.
your podcast.
Just Florida Basketball Hour is the podcast. patreon.com/Florida BB Hour. Subscribe. Fawcett does all kinds of talk about making basketball science experiment. He does some great stuff that helps you learn a lot about hoops, I think. And then my stuff's at Saturday Down South. So y'all can find me on Twitter too. But
Told Eric to talk nerdy to me last time we had him on.
Man, that guy's a savant. The man's a savant.
Love both of you guys. Well, we appreciate you joining the show again, Neil. We'll talk to you soon, my friend, and enjoy this Gators national championship for another 50 weeks.
Wait, before you leave, Neil.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Certified ball knower, Dan Thompson.
Certified ball knower.
Oh,
Frankie saying hi.
Certified ball knower, Frankie De La Torre. All right, y'all.
Awesome, brother. Well, we'll see you soon, Neil.
Later, guys.
Later, my guy.
All right. Let's get back into the Greg Smith football stuff. I mean, we can tie a bow on basketball here real quick. Any final thoughts on Xaivian Lee, Denzel Aberdeen? We didn't talk about Sam Alexis. He's in the portal now. Alex Condon and Ruben Chinyelu both announced eligibility for the draft with intention, or with the opportunity or option, I guess, to be able to come back. But any final bow tying you want to do on basketball?
Yeah, I expect him to be back. Both Alex. I think Alex will be told, you know, first off, it's I think it's the right decision. If you want to go, like Neil said, you can go all the way up to the combine, and all you're doing is meeting with NBA scouts and GMs, guys who you want to draft you, getting real feedback. They'll work you out, and you're going to get real feedback whether you like it or not. It might be, hey, you got beat up down low all March, and you need to go back to school, get stronger, and we need to see you play better in the paint, offensively and defensively. And then we'll get you next week or next year. But to be like, you know what? I don't need that feedback. Even if you think you're going to be able, even if you think your decision is to come back, to not take that opportunity to go and work out and get real feedback from the people you want to see you play in person, I think is silly. So I expect Ruben back. I expect Condon back. I would have expected Tommy Hawk to also test the waters. He has not announced that yet.
I've learned how to use expect.
Hold on. We haven't gone back to Greg Smith yet.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But I would have expected Tommy to also test the waters and come back. But
it seems like Neil thinks that that's still a possibility, just not been announced yet.
Yeah, I think you're going to get the whole front court back.
That'd be sick.
And then you just got to really, except for Sam,
right.
And then you're really just trying to figure out the backcourt. And replacing those 3 seniors is not going to be easy.
No matter how good the guys you get out of the transfer portal are. Will Richard coming back for a 5th year?
He's done. No eligibility.
Yeah, he's not. He can't. All right, let's do a couple quick.
Honestly, what is eligibility?
Yeah,
I just saw a kid hit the portal, and they're like, he played 2 years here, he played 3 years here, 1 year here, and I'm like, wait, that's 5.
Are you talking about Chad Baker Mazzara?
Who's about to be?
He's 25 years old, dude.
That's crazy.
And he's in the transfer portal. To
do the job portal, kid.
It's time. You know, I know your NIL bill is going to pay more money in taxes, and you're probably going to make more.
Man, the real world ain't worth it. Tell him, Jordan. Stay in college.
Milk you for as long as you can.
All right. Well, let's do a couple quick ad reads. Quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time Sidekicks. You see us each and every week with these great cups. I got the Gator Boys one here. Nick has the national championship one. Jordan has the Gator logo. We've got them all. We use them every day.
Exclusive.
Yeah, I got the exclusive. We got to get one with the new logo. We got to send it over to him. But go visit Game Time
Sidekicks. Cup?
At the office.
Oh yeah, Nick is hoarding. You know what? I sent Nick a hat that I bought for him at the Masters, and it was hey, you send me your packet. Whoa. The box of cups that you have. Yeah. You send me the box that you have, and we'll distribute. Or I don't send you this hat, and I got beat at my own game. Nick's about to have his hat, and he still has these cups. His wife's
it would appear that you've lost the carrot that you were trying to use to entice me to send.
That's fine. I know where you live. Go visit GameTimeSidekicks.com. We'll do the real ad read now. It's going to keep your hot drinks hot, your cold drinks cold. Come in a variety of sizes, like this big fella, or just a traditional 24 ounce. Go check them out. It is a Gator fan living in Knoxville, Tennessee. They have great products, not only for the football, basketball. They also have DJ Lagway cups. They've got some NIL stuff as well. So go check them out. Great product. GameTimeSidekicks.com. Promo code Stadium15 at checkout. And then go visit Alumni Hall. Go visit alumnihall.com or go visit them in Gainesville. If you go to our X page, our Twitter page, we are doing a drawing for a pennant, a sticker, and let me look up exactly what we're giving out here from Alumni Hall, just so we don't miss it. So the way that you enter is by giving that a retweet. You have to follow both of us on X, and if you go and you rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, just because we switched feeds, we lost all of our ratings. We had some haters come through. So if you guys could go do that, if you add that photo that you gave us a ranking, we will have you for an extra drawing. We're going to do that tomorrow. So you're going to get a decal for your car. You're going to get a pennant, and then you're also going to get a national championship cup. So go visit alumnihall.com. Go visit our Twitter page. Go retweet that. Go enter the sweepstakes there. But anything that you want, basketball, football, apparel, golf apparel, cups, ornaments, Mother's Day, Father's Day, both holidays coming up soon. So go check them out, Alumni Hall or Alumni Hall in Gainesville, Florida. All right, guys. So we put a pin in the Gregory Smith conversation. Want to come back to that. I think it plays nicely into Neil's conversation about things just move quick in the NIL space, and things can happen in minutes and in hours. So I think we were gonna leave the conversation on the market market correction and NIL and everything else. So want to pick it up there?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. The safety room is one of I would say, our room that we have a lot of potential in. There's a lot to be, determined, but we all as fans know that Thornton and Castell are probably booked as starters. Everybody behind them are probably rotational pieces, even though people are fighting for spots, there's no position just, locked in. But on paper, returning snaps, you could easily see that Castell and Thornton probably going to be your head guys. And then in the recruiting world, you go and land Drake Stubbs, and also Lagunza, which aren't small checks as well. So you're just looking at the position in its totality, like how many safeties do you want to pay a premium price, whatever the price may be. You got to have a cap on it somewhere. So he was at a spot where he was trying to find his true worth. And I think that like the players eventually gonna have to find a way to figure that out without actually jumping into the portal. And representation matters. I think in a lot of these situations with NIL, it just would be smart to remove family members from it. Fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, whoever may be running your team or your agency type situation. That would help, I think, with some of the NIL negotiations. But yeah, it's just the market's kind of correcting themselves, and some teams are going to promise you certain things, or maybe say they can give you certain things, and then when you hit the market, they see other safeties as well or other DBs. While it sounded good before you hit the portal, once you hit it, the market's oversaturated with guys with proven production. That's another thing too. Is like how much proven production you got, because if you're trying to make money off of your potential, that's different than, said stats on paper of what I've done in college football already. So it's tricky, bruh. But we retained 99% of our roster, and I thought it was a good job by the staff.
I think it's a great job by the staff. I mean, I think that's true in the real world, right? We try to apply a lot of this conversation to what most folks deal with, right? A lot of people don't just up and quit their job and then start their job search. You look to see what your options are. You get that offer as finalized as you can, and you move forward. Now, obviously, you can sign an offer and then put a 2 weeks notice in, and you may not be able to necessarily do that, but you should know what you're getting and what that opportunity looks like, because the second you put your name in the portal, the school has to look at ways that they can move on. And maybe there's somebody that's entered the transfer portal that they can now look at that might be better than you, or a better allocation of those funds. So it's a risk. And, we saw it with Nico. There's some extenuating circumstances probably there, and we don't know the full story. And Corey, I saw some of the tweets. What do we call them now? X's that you put out.
They're forever tweets, man.
Yeah, they're forever tweets. So,
you got in too late. I don't care how much money you spent. It's Twitter and their tweets.
About Nico's brother potentially going to UCLA. So there might be some other things there, but he's taking an offer that's less at UCLA, and is going to make far less than what he was going to make at Tennessee for this year. And, we were talking about it before the show.
Wild state income taxes.
Yeah. You go from, I think Tennessee is 7th, 8th best odds to win the national championship this year, and UCLA is not. They're in the scroll more, see more section of the national championship odds.
Hit that a couple more times. Hit the see more.
But I do. Go ahead.
If I could just like the difference into like how Florida handled Greg Smith and how Tennessee handled Nico are polar opposites, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the difference is much at all. Greg Smith had, from what I know, family around him helping him negotiate and move through his process. Same thing on Nico's side. When the negotiations got to a place where Florida, this is our number. This is what we got on paper. If you want to sign it, you got to this deadline, or we moving forward. Florida didn't leak out the contract information to the fans, to media, as reports on this is what Greg Smith wants. He's crazy. And I think when Tennessee did that, I thought they muddied the waters, and that was bad business. If the kid doesn't want to be there, negotiations should stay private, I think, between the players and the programs. And if you don't like the number the player is saying, that number should stay private, just for like fair market. If you think you can find a quarterback that's more valuable than said player that's asking for a number, then cool. You put your number on the paper, give them a deadline to sign. If they don't sign it, you move on. similar to how Florida moved. I like how Florida moved in the situation. And when the deadline passed, there's no, I still want to come. No, deadline is a deadline. The other guys in the portal that we can go find, we're going to move on. Instead of making it all this drama, and a lot of different, because I don't think Nico really wanted to leave, to be honest with you. I think it was a negotiation and a dirty negotiation that was going down between both programs, right? Where he hitting up other schools probably to see his value. Yeah, he should. He should see what another school's willing to pay, right? But at no point in time should any of the schools take private negotiations between the school and player to media as a report. That's when it gets a little muddy and a little nasty. Now the kid don't have a choice because media has an opinion. Everybody on Twitter has an opinion about his value or he's crazy. Now other programs have an opinion, and that muddies negotiations. If his number is
the narrative's already controlled at that point.
Yes, correct, correct.
Because Nico can't go out as a student athlete at the University of Tennessee and defend himself about contract negotiations or talking to other schools, right? Like the NCAA doesn't do anything, but they would do something if you're like, hey, I am talking, to these other schools and they're potentially looking to offer me something, right? So I 100% agree with you, Corey.
Yeah, they were shopping. They were shopping through back channels, trying to figure out what he could get before their playoff game last year. And that's something that I heard, and I was like, ooh, Nico could reset the market for quarterback, especially as you're getting into this time where some schools are front-loading contracts to get more money on the books now before it goes to July 1st. I was like, Nico might reset the market, and that's something that he defended himself on, being like, I think on Instagram, was like, through the playoff game, because I didn't like negotiations. Like, I don't know if he knew that his name was being shopped around there, but the people around him were asking what the price tag would be if Nico, I'm a leave in Knoxville, were to hit the portal even before their playoff game.
It's crazy.
Love to see it elsewhere. Love to see it elsewhere. Glad we have a nice buttoned up operation.
And 99% retention is incredible.
For sure.
I mean, I know the spring portal is a little bit different than the winter portal, but still to get everybody back. And this is the last chance. They have, I think, 5 more days to enter the portal before it closes until next December. So.
Strikes me as a guy who would have been in the portal 4 times, 5 schools, 6. Jordan. 4 portal entries, 5 schools.
Nah, bro, I wouldn't have went that
6 years.
You got to
bag chasing.
I had not to say I had the opportunity to leave, but when I got in trouble, a lot of people was considering leaving. I was just like, listen, if I can stay, I'm staying. I don't want to go nowhere else. I mean, other schools still wanted me. Yes, like I could have went and played somewhere else. Obviously,
how does that happen? How do you find out?
Let's narc on some schools.
2017, statute of limitations is over. But how do you find out that other schools?
You know how that go. I'm really cool with Roger Harriet, and he's well connected with a lot of college coaches and stuff like that. So when I got in trouble, he reached out to me. It was basically like, obviously at the time I was scared of being kicked out of Florida, so I'm kind of trying to protect myself. And like, dang, coach, what's my other options? Who would kind of take me? Granted that I just got in trouble, and he came back with a nice hefty list of teams who was willing to take me. None of them really struck my interest in wanting to leave. I was just like, if I can stay a Gator, I'm gonna stay a Gator. Like, and thankfully, Coach Mullen backed me on that and kept me on the squad. Couldn't complain with that, and I was just trying to be a good guy ever since. But this transfer portal thing is absolutely getting out of hand. This kid managed to leave a playoff team, lost money in trying to join a sorry team. Like, what are we doing? Like, at this rate, I just kind of think you don't have faith that you're going to make it to the NFL, and you're just trying to collect funds. If that's the case, then I completely understand.
I don't know if it's that. I think it's I don't think the dad likes either of the offense because the brother just left Arkansas. And if I mean, he's got to know that going to LA is more expensive, state taxes, all of that stuff. So
that's what I'm saying. So
if
what's
both
the
brothers are heading back to LA, I don't think
Yeah,
it's just
from
I think
California.
The offense. What was that?
I said they're both from California.
Yeah, they're both from Cali.
Yeah.
I think it's more maybe the offenses they're playing in, the players that are around them. And also, like, I don't know if, like I said, if Nico really wanted to leave. I just thought that was just how they were negotiating. Nico never took the conversation. Like, the kid's taking most of the heat, but he didn't make any of this public. Like, we would have never found out about any of this unless it got leaked by On3 and it started getting reported by On3. But the dad even denied it when the report went out.
Yeah.
The dad said, "No, this is all lies. Like, Pete Nakos is crazy." Like, you know what I'm saying? And me saying it very nicely on what he said. So, like, it was obvious that they didn't want it to go public because he got to be in that locker room. He got to deal with, media, fans. But once it got out there, now it's just, it is what it is. There's no even coming back. So when it went public, I was like, yo, he can't come back to that locker room. Like, once that goes out, it's a wrap. So I thought Tennessee just, instead of negotiating and just sticking to a number, they were offended by him trying to get more money. And then once they were offended and it was just scorched earth from there. I just thought they lost their emotional cool and they could have handled it a little bit better. But I don't think the kid, he's not the only one doing this. Like, we had,
he's definitely not.
Bro, it's players on our team like that miss spring practices, negotiating money.
No sense to me. It's dudes who barely played it down at Florida and still got a camp invite to the NFL. At some point, if your aspirations is to go to the league, you got to put yourself in position to try to go to the league. You managed to get to a prestigious university like University of Florida, kind of like Tennessee. I ain't giving them too much credit, but you're at a big SEC school. Like, come on, like, take advantage of the opportunity. I'm not saying UCLA is a bad school in any sort. It's a great school. But as far as football goes, I think you can ask any NFL scout who they turn their page on first, and it's probably not UCLA if we're looking for top tier athletes. So,
not in this century.
I think it's just hard because you've introduced a factor that didn't exist. I mean, it's always existed, right? But really exist until the last 5 years, and that's getting paid and trying to build wealth early, because there's still an opportunity to get to the NFL. And I'm not dismissing what you said, Jordan, at UCLA and doing well. It's not like he's going to Bowling Green, right? But now you've introduced money, and do you start to say, hey, maybe I didn't have a great couple years at Tennessee to what I was expected. I've made some money. Maybe the negotiation didn't work out for me, but that X factor of money being involved now changes the way that we have to look at what these kids are thinking. The same way with Denzel Aberdeen. And that's why I asked Neil that question is, maybe you go for more money now if you are talking to people and there's not that next chance to get that next big payday. And if you can make an extra $600,000, $800,000, that's a lot of money in the grand scheme of life if you use that money correctly that you can build off of. If you don't think that you're going to get to that next level, or you still are betting on yourself that you can still get there no matter what. And that's maybe what Nico did. But, like Corey said, and, it is what it is. Like, if a school leaks this information out, you can't say anything or else you're now in violation and you could potentially lose your status as a player.
Right.
Let me ask y'all this. Do y'all think they made the playoffs without Nico? And if so, like, how much is the playoffs worth?
I personally don't know if they would make the playoffs without him or not. Obviously, a quarterback.
He wasn't anything special.
That's what I was about to say.
You said he was special. Like,
Polynesian, I thought he was going to be. I hyped him. And then he, let's see. So I think
regardless of not being special, they do not make the playoffs without him, bro. There's a reason
they just
why
got the UCLA transfer quarterback, the guy that you said they just trade. We've got our first trade, no players to be named later. I don't think that quarterback's very good. I mean, I think Nico had some pros to him. He wasn't great, but he was a 5-star quarterback that was going into his junior year.
19 touchdowns.
Okay. I know 11 of them were against like Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, and something. I know all of those stats, right? I'm not saying that he's a generational quarterback.
I'm with Nick. I didn't think he was that great, to be honest. That's what
It ain't that
blew
great,
me
but it's all about
Polynesian.
value, right? Value,
Right.
Polynesian
value.
Felipe Franks.
But he's the
No,
best
but like,
quarterback on their team.
but at
Yes,
no point in time
100%.
was Felipe Franks the anchor of the Florida team. Like most people wanted him on the bench.
Tennessee.
This kid was in the Heisman race or in the Heisman talk this offseason for a reason. Well, I was never high on his skills. I always thought he was a little suspect. You know, I want to see him, like all the hype that was around him in the offseason. I want to see him materialize because he's not a vocal leader and a lot of different things I want to see. But if you remove him from that Tennessee team last year, they're a 6-win team. If the QB2 was even decent, right, you wouldn't even be trying to get UCLA guy right now. Like, who is your QB2? Nobody on the roster is good enough. So if you take this kid off, you might not make a bowl game, right? And to make it to a playoff game, right, it's $4 million or more is the value of making it to a playoff game. So if I'm the kid's agent and I'm looking at, and I'm not saying I would like recommend this, but if I'm the kid's agent and I'm looking at just value, like, yo, this kid, without him, y'all don't make the playoffs. So if I'm asking for more money, because if we leave, y'all probably won't make a bowl game. So there's value there and there's worth there because without me, I'm the most important player on this team. And without me, this team likely doesn't make a bowl game. So I think you got to find that middle ground somewhere.
I feel like it kind of looks bad on his part, though, because just look at how the NFL team is looking at it. Okay, you just made the playoffs last year. You're on a playoff caliber team. You have the potential to go and compete for a national championship run again, possibly. You're choosing to go win it all. You're basically choosing money over winning it all, essentially. And like that shows how much your love is for the game and how much you respect the game. It's not really about football at this point. It's more about your money. And that's why I really don't like it, because scouts is looking at if I was a scout, that's how I would be looking at it. I'm obviously not these guys. I'm not sitting in their seats. But if I'm looking at it like, wow, you just brought your team to the playoffs. You got some pieces around you. You got money to add some more pieces with you. Like the money is there. They can add some more pieces if you need some O-linemen, you need some receivers, you need a running back. All that can be added to go on your national championship run. It's 30,000, not 30. You know what I mean? That's a bunch of other teams who didn't even make it to the playoffs at all. Wasn't even sniffing it. You literally made it to the playoffs and abandoned your team. Like that's a selfish move right there. As a quarterback, I'm just saying that's a bad move as a quarterback. You're supposed to be that leader. You're supposed to be that guy, and you have a team around you that is basically already equipped to compete for a national title, and you just left them in the drop for money, basically. So that's how I feel like NFL scouts is looking at it like, I don't know about this guy. Maybe he is good enough to qualify to be in the NFL and make us go on a Super Bowl run, but at the same time, I don't know how much of a leader you are. I don't know how committed you are to the game of football itself, because here you are sniffs away from the national title and making it far in the playoffs, and you just left all that for possibly $2 more million. Essentially, you lost money leaving.
Tennessee burnt it down. The kid didn't. I don't even know, like from his post that he put out afterwards, it was like his representation is handling the negotiations. You know, like it's not like he's talking to the Tennessee coaches and doing the negotiation. Most times it's the family, it's the agent handling that. Yeah, and then once it go public, he got to deal with the backlash. But I think in his post, I don't have it in front of me, but he kind of said it, like he didn't want all that to happen. He didn't expect for it to go down like that. And nobody expect negotiations between a program and a kid to go public like that. And the kid's taking the brunt of it. But I think Tennessee, it's a two-way street. I don't think nobody's parents and nobody's family members need to be running this type of situation with negotiations. But I also think these universities shouldn't be making negotiations of kids that they brought into these programs and said that they were going to be family and all these other things. To out that information to media is purposeful. I don't think that was on accident. They did that to tarnish his future negotiations, to make sure he didn't get the $4 million anywhere else that he was asking for. And they did a good job of that.
Yeah, they definitely did. I just hate that it was even in his mind to, okay, I'm not saying I hate that he asked for more money. Obviously, like you said, with the playoff thing goes.
I want that for my quarterback. I love it for Tennessee. I'm with you.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm happy as hell.
This isn't about us, right?
Yeah, I'm just more trying to remove myself from it as a Gator fan and just think about it like, okay, you was just basically in the playoffs. You was possibly could have won some more to get to the national championship, and you're considering leaving. Why? Like, imagine how we would feel as Gator fans if Lagway had the year he had. Let's just say he played the Georgia game and he beat Georgia, and then he played against Texas and he beat Texas. Now imagine he had us close to a playoff run and he's up and trying to leave us. We would be sick. We'd be like, bro, he's such a loser. Why would he leave us? Da, 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 da. We'll be feeling some type of way because, dude, we have a playoff caliber team right here, and you're trying to ditch us for $2 more million. Like, what the hell is going on?
I'm glad we run a legit outfit that doesn't leak that information out.
That's very true, too, because who knows? Maybe he was shopping around. The world may never know.
He wasn't.
Nick is not for sale.
The money's there. We don't care. But
I think college football, and I'm not diminishing anything that you're talking about. It's just changed so much, Jordan, and the fact that all of this stuff can be negotiated, it is becoming the real world, and people find out in the real world. There's people that are willing to pay that information for you or pay that amount of money for you, and sometimes they're not. And I think this is just a one-sided situation that you find yourself in, because you're still, even though you're getting paid for your name, image, and likeness, you're still an amateur athlete, and you're not allowed to talk about other schools tampering or what that market might be. So maybe Tennessee did ruin the chance for him to make more money elsewhere, and they knew that when they leaked that story that there was no chance that he was going to come back. And I feel bad for the kid because, again, you don't know. He could get injured on the first day of spring or of summer practice and be out for the rest of his career. And now he's lost everything, right? So there's just so much nuance to this discussion about money and payers being paid and the way that we do payment and the way that it's all behind the scenes and just not very forward, puts everybody in a really crappy situation where one side still has total control over these players. And yes, we can talk about players leaving and going to different schools and making, more money elsewhere. But at the same time, his entire future probably just got rear-ended because Tennessee wanted to control the narrative about him not getting the money that he thought he was worth. And that sucks.
For sure.
Yeah, that's
real
messy
world will
business.
tell you when you're not worth what you want to be. That's a negotiating tactic, I guess. But I think it then comes back to you. Now, if we talk about negative recruiting, hey,
yeah, sure. Yeah.
We're not the outfit that leaks our private conversations and our private negotiations to try to get an upper hand to pay you less. Instead, it's just like, hey, this is how we operate.
And it's all game value, right?
And it's also
you're taking risks.
Yeah, it's not about you as an individual. It's like, hey, we've got a roster of 85. And I saw somebody in the comments earlier say, when does roster limit go to 105? For the SEC, it doesn't. For some reason, they're sticking at 85 while everyone else can do 105.
SEC is putting us in everybody in the league at a disadvantage in the spring.
I mean, they literally, they could change it, but you should have changed it earlier.
Another thing too,
on Big Ten doing
105. That's
we're at a disadvantage. Like the league got to clear it up.
Does we should be doing.
Don't say it like that. I hope they clip that, Dan.
No, I mean, you have two leagues. You have the SEC and you have the Big Ten. You don't want to put yourself at a competitive disadvantage over the only other conference that you're competing with.
Hey, for real though, stay out of Cali.
You got to stay out of Cali. You do got to stay out of Cali.
Yes,
the boys is weird out there, man.
Great advice.
Stay out of Cali.
Yeah, stay there.
Been there, done that. Yo, salute to Ronald Powell. Should have ended there. Last one, best one.
Rest in peace to Ronald Powell.
Yes, rest in peace to Ronald Powell. Ropo.
The Greg Smith thing is just to wrap that up, bro. It's unfortunate. Like I was very high on his skills, man. Size, speed wise, he should have sat tight. I don't, even if Miami, USF, some of the other programs that are rumored to be possible places for him. Florida was the best spot for him to develop. They brought him in. He got meaningful reps year one at safety. And I thought he was going to get more reps even this fall. You just got to put the work on the field. The real payday is in the NFL. And University of Florida, they have shown since, Billy's been here over time, but definitely in his NIL era, that they're going to play young guys and develop them. And they're not going to bring in guys through the portal to play over you. A lot of these programs, they're not developing. If you can't play right away, they snatching. That's another thing too in this NIL market. They offering one thing, right, to these high school kids. When they get on campus, if they're not playing, that money drops significantly the next year. It's a bait and switch that's going on as well. So some of these kids feel slighted that, oh, you got me on campus with this, now I'm not paying, my pay just dropped. So you just got to sit tight and be developed, man. That's the end-all be-all goal, especially if you know your ceiling is NFL. Don't get caught up in right now. And most importantly, high representation that keep, things not messy. A lot of time, family get emotionally involved in these decisions and things go weird. You feel me?
Yeah, get somebody with experience that knows what they're doing.
Moral to the story to wrap Nico up. Don't
go to Tennessee.
Greg, I think it's not about you can make it personal. And I think you've said this a couple of times, Corey. It's not personal, it's business. Hey, I think I'm worth this. You have to also understand from a coach's perspective, hey, we're now trying to figure out, we have a cap of what we can raise, what we're going to get from rev share. This is our cap of what we can use to build a football team. And now every position room gets a number attached to it. And you've got to make the numbers fit. And you can come to a coach, and especially in the spring when you're like, hey, the money's accounted for the fall. We feel pretty good. Florida feels pretty good. You might see the Gators go after two guys in the portal, and it's going to be depth pieces. I put this on our message board for Victorious. They like what they have. Starting 22, they like what they have. Looking for maybe depth at linebacker, maybe at safety and interior defensive line. That's what Florida's going to be going after, looking for. But again, it's just depth pieces. And if you have a guy who is already probably not a starter, not one of those 22, coming and being like, hey, I need this, XYZ, you're like, no, that's not.
Especially if you just negotiated with your starter safety. Like we were all waiting on the word from Bryce Thornton. Like, what decision is he gonna make? Is he gonna follow Will Harris down to Miami? So you got to also, mind your own pockets, watch your own pockets, pay attention to your own check, and then fall in line accordingly. You feel me? Bryce Thornton was a starter that put up very good production last year, and he was going to be a priority. You just got to play your role. Zaquan Patterson is a guy that entered the portal from down in Miami. Safety, he's coming in for a visit this week. I think he's also visiting Ole Miss. A guy that got a lot of reps down there year one in Miami was barbecue chicken a little bit, just keep it a bean, but that's part of developing though. Like you get beat, like I remember Marcus May. We were talking about him before the show. I remember Marcus May first year, bro. He was getting cooked, but by the time he's a junior, senior, the lumps you take early is a part of development and making you better. You get into the film room, you get, you realize how you make mistakes, you work on your eye discipline, etc. But Zaquan Patterson got a lot of upside. He's a kid that I wouldn't mind adding to the depth. He's a guy that we could just bring in. We don't need him to contribute right away. He could get in, learn the system, get better, and then contribute in a year or two.
Yeah.
But
just
on how many spots do we have? My bad. How many spots do we have?
By my count, they're at 86. So -1.
Aiden Warner got a scholarship.
Spinning it.
Yep. Yep. All right.
So, part of the scholarship in the fall.
Yeah. I think they can make some changes to where they're at. But yeah, let's talk about Zaquan Patterson, number 6 safety, number 92 overall player in the class of 2024. Played in all 13 games, 19 tackles, 15 solos, 3 PBUs. Like Corey mentioned, he's visiting Ole Miss today and tomorrow morning, and he will be in Gainesville Tuesday evening with a visit set for Wednesday and Thursday morning. So Zaquan Patterson will be here. Again, a safety. Gators looking to potentially replace that Greg Smith departure. According to Corey Bender, the Gators are also talking to the number 1 ranked linebacker in the portal, Andrew Simpson, who's in contact with 40 different schools, or 20 different schools. I know how to read, from Boise State. So He is a guy that's looking at North Carolina, Syracuse, Purdue, USC, and a number of other schools. So that's a guy that Florida's kicking the tires on as well. So those are the two names so far. We had Horton, the Miami transfer. He was talking to Florida, slated to visit, ends up going to Georgia. Georgia signed 3 guys in the transfer portal yesterday.
This is defensive tackle out of USF, Brandon Good. That just entered the portal today. That I wouldn't mind them kicking tires on and seeing what type of interest. 1 year to play. Was very productive at USF. I know we need a nose tackle, defensive tackle type body. So I wouldn't mind. I think he had 35 quarterback pressures, 2 sacks, 35 tackles, 2 batted passes, 2 fumble recoveries. So super productive at the defensive tackle spot. I wouldn't mind them kicking tires there. He's from, I think, Fort Meade or something like that. So he's a Florida kid as well.
What's his name? Brandon Good?
Yeah, Bernard Good. I'm sorry. Bernard Good.
Reminds you of that scene in the Santa Claus. Bernard Good.
Gooden. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
Gooden.
Bernard Gooden. Here he is. Started at Wake Forest, then went to USF from Montgomery, Alabama. But his Twitter handle is BigTime321. So that would play with what you're talking about, Corey. Let's see. Yeah, I guess he's from Alabama. Maybe he grew up in Florida before then.
You got a 321 area code in his bio?
It just says big_time 321.
Okay.
So
he's 280. He's light, but I wouldn't say light, but he's not as big as like a Desmond Watson or anybody there. But you're talking about like somebody just to fill in the room. I don't think we need starter rep. Yeah, I mean that's a good 280 at 6'1" now.
Yeah,
that's a robust beefy. 280. Yeah, that's a chunky 280, my boy.
Busted can of biscuits. So that's where we're at there. Florida did get a bunch of crystal balls or RPMs. So I want to read some of those. We haven't talked a lot about recruiting on this show in maybe 2 years. So we want to go through some of those. The Gators are currently in the lead right now for cornerback CJ Hester. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's a quarterback coach down in Sarasota. A couple of guys the Gators are actually looking at for quarterback for the next class in the year after. But he said that CJ Hester is one of the best DBs that he's seen. Locked down Cardinal Mooney. Had a couple interceptions in that game, but 6'1", 175. Malik Morris, 6'1", 225-pound linebacker out of Lakeland High School. Let's see who else. Florida's they got a crystal ball prediction from Valdon Stone, a 4-star defensive lineman. Florida jumped Oklahoma for where they look to be trending towards. CJ Hester, Generve Carr from IMG, 6'4", 325 pounds, originally from Ocala, Florida. Florida is trending for on the recruiting prediction machine. I got his name totally wrong. And then Ty Gotesh, who's a tight end, 6'7", 225 pounds. And then Naeem Burrows, 4-star wide receiver, 5'11", 160 pounds, currently committed to Clemson, but from the Bowl School in Jacksonville. So maybe some things are changing there. Maybe that's just old, but just wanted to run through. I'm not following 2026 recruiting until, what is it, Corey, a week before, or do we start in November?
I start getting my trolls rolling and like cooking up right as I get my information the week of signing day. Maybe 2 weeks before signing day, early signing day, after we smack Florida State.
Cooking up the turkey, you're cooking up the trolls.
Yeah. You start getting the word out. I pay attention to all the visits. You want to watch all the visits. You see who you're in it for, right? Throughout the season, after the official visits, after the game visits, reading, what the quotes, find out from On 3, Corey Bender and the boys, whoever may be out there getting, the information. And then the week of, you have a good idea who you about to get, and then just celebrate then. But right now, save yourself a little heartache, bro. Just stress NIL transfer portal these days, and then you could stress that the week of.
Yeah, really hard to follow high school recruiting in the current state of affairs. What's the point? What's the point?
What is the point? What is the
there
point?
Is no point.
Existential question, Nick.
Even if they sign on signing day, you can still just get them out to signing day like we got Wilson.
We've got a number of players that way. That's how they got DeAndre Robinson. They got Jameer Grimsley, who I love.
Come on, Dan Rock.
The roster, and this show, like I help host a Gators podcast, and I didn't know that he changed his name to Jamrock. That's an incredible name. Shout out to Jamrock Grimsley. I don't know, but that's what it is as his. I'm sure his real name is Jameer, but he now goes by Jamrock, which I'm a fan of. That sounds like a DB's name, but I was not aware until I went to the roster because we were talking this past weekend about some Gator players, and I was looking down the depth or just the roster because I knew I was forgetting a name or two. And I had to scroll up. I'm like, who in God's green earth is named Jamrock? And then I looked at the last name. Shout out to Jamrock.
You think Mom approves of that? My mom goes back when people call me Silk, man. She's like, why the hell are people calling you Silk? I named you
okay,
bro.
what would be what would be your stage name?
I'm not a scripper, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, you're something like that pause.
Okay, I was about to say, only one that automatically responded to that. Stage name.
Stage name.
They also say that for actors. Like an actor has a stage name. Like that.
You know what? You're right.
Did I just go by Dan?
No. You're Dan Rock. You've already made Dan Rock clear. You've claimed it.
What's your stage name? Cherries.
I ain't finna say them, but yeah.
All right, you simmer down there, cinnamon.
Right. So what are y'all named? Lollipop or something?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Got diamond in the bottom right.
Hey, bro. Hey, send me your address, bro. You deserve a square up for that. Let's fight. I challenge you to a duel for calling me Diamond, bro.
A duel.
I challenge you to a duel.
Life would be a lot different if we still dueled. You know what I mean?
Bring duels back, man.
The Gators did lose one commitment, Devin Jackson, 6'1", 195-pound safety, 4-star on 247 composite from First Academy High School in Orlando, Florida, trending towards Will Harrison, Miami. Don't think that was a surprise for anybody. So
if you leave, we upgrade. Them the rules.
Make the rules. You just follow them.
That's it.
All right, guys. Anything else before we get out of here?
Baseball got to commit.
Oh, yeah. Baseball's been on a bit of a heater recently, Nick. I know they lost yesterday, but before that had won 7 in a row. Maybe a little life back in Kevin O'Sullivan's program.
Yeah, I was hanging out with the boys today at Bread of the Mighty, packing some food up for families here in Alachua County. Went to dinner with my wife. Ran into 3 more of the guys today. They're grabbing dinner. Shout out to Florida Victorious for buying dinner tonight. Baseball's got 4 at home this week. Arkansas, I think they're number 2 or number 3 in the country.
Nice.
Typically, Arkansas can't score runs, and they have great arms. They also this year have great arms, but have somehow learned how to hit. Going to be a tough one. Would like to get a series win, 2-1 this weekend would be good for Florida baseball. But they got a commit. I need to find the name. He is a 2026 commit.
Do you think he makes it, Nick? While you look that up,
he's the number 3 overall high school player in the country.
Somebody said he's young, though, right? Young for his class.
Yeah, Kevin Roberts Jr. Super fast. So he is a 2-way player, projects as an outfielder, but runs a 6.5 60. I don't know how to equate that to a 40, but that's flying. Outfielder, ton of power. He's 6'5" right now as a 16-year-old, 6'5", 215. Big, long, lean. He's going projects to be a professional baseball player at some point. Would love to get him in Gainesville for 3 years, though. That's the game. That's the game in baseball. You got to get those guys committed, and maybe they come, maybe they don't.
All right.
Maybe
Nico's brother just committed to UCLA as well. So it's a family vibe over there in Los Angeles.
Nick, they think that equates to a 4.35 to a 4.45.
It's moving.
Yeah, so he's moving. But they did say it's hard to compare because you're running your last 20 yards at your top speed. So that is elite speed.
Yes.
Elite speed. All right. So Corey was right all along about the Iamalova family. All right. Let's one final ad read. Go visit Home Field Apparel. Use promo code Stadium and Gale, or Stadium at checkout. Stadium and Gale at checkout is what it is. Stadium and Gale at checkout will get you 15% off of your order. Bunch of new basketball stuff. They still have the baseball stuff. Consistently putting out new product. I think if you go on their website, there's 4 or 5 pages of Florida Gator products on there. So go check them out. They've been a longtime sponsor of this program, a big fan of this program, and we appreciate you guys continuing to support them. So again, homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale, all one word at checkout, will get you 15% off of your order. Jordan, song of the week.
My song of the week is Clouds by J. Cole.
Oh, that's a
Legends.
That's a fire one.
The other day, it caught my attention, and I've been having that thing on repeat since I heard it. So y'all go check out Clouds by J. Cole. It's a banger. You can thank me later. If you want to feel cool and hip, you can play it around your friends, play it in the car.
I'm always looking for ways to look cool.
You feel me? Just tell them J. Scar put you on. That's all I asked.
You got it. Yeah. They already think I'm cool for being friends with you. All right. We appreciate everybody for watching on Twitter or X. Appreciate all of those folks. And then, of course, everybody on YouTube. Appreciate everybody for liking and subscribing to this program. If you want to reach out to us, find us on all the social media pages. We'll respond as quickly as we can. Again, if you have your phone handy, if you can go on Spotify or if you go on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, and shoot us a quick ranking. It takes 3 seconds to go and go ahead and get done. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you at the same corner, same time next week.